Now, what do you think the legacy of Charles Bronson is, as far as the hardcore scene goes and the power violence scene goes?
I don't really understand what it means to other people. I'm disconnected to it in that respect because, I was there and I made it, and I sort of understand what the reality of it was. And I think for a lot of people who know about us, weren't actually around to see that the reality is, there's 20 people at every show and people laughing at us and people thinking that we were a complete joke. I mean, in some respects, we treated ourselves that way, which was the charm of it. But I don't know. I think it's a combination of things: the imagery, the music, the attitude.
Yeah, that's what I think is most important about it. That imagery, that attitude you guys created. I think a lot of people didn't exactly know how to act at a Chuck Bronson show, to tell you the truth.
They might not have. I mean, I think that we all just sort of looked at it like, well, what did the best band that ever existed mean to us, and how do we translate that? And it was something very relatable. It was like kids making music for kids. It wasn't preachy. It wasn't about telling people they need to change or do things better. And at the same time, there was something scathing about the way things were and what was deemed acceptable. The sort of status quo that existed at the time was insufferable. It was a bunch of self-righteous, pompous people. But also in Chicago, you had this huge pop-punk scene that seemed to be founded on nothing. It wasn't about anything. It was about, it was no different than being at a party or a frat house or a social gathering. It didn't mean anything. We wanted something that had some substance,
Now, as far as the lyrical content is concerned, with all the bands you've been in, what's the general subject that you seem to attack regularly?
I think it's the life that people think is acceptable, the things that people deem normal, that they take for granted, that their own lives they take for granted, the power that they surrender willingly to others, unquestioningly. I can't stand that. I can't just sit back and let that go by without it bothering me. At the same time, I don't really care what anyone else does. I still have to live around them. I still have to be in the world. I still have to be part of the world. I'm not living in the woods or something, detached from reality. I mean, I don't know. I guess reality for me is the frustration that it is to exist. It's about that coexistence that you hate and you love, that you have to find a day-to-day, think about, how do I make the most use of my time? I realize I can't live externalizing my hopes for the world to improve, or putting all my eggs in one basket about like a president saving us and thinking that everything's going to get better. For me, it's much more intimate. It has to be at a personal level, and I've always tried to write on that level. And I think it's only myself that I can improve or question. I can't really question others. I mean, they're not going to give me the answers, really. I've never found I've gotten any real answers to me.
Now, you also run Youth Attack Records. What was the inspiration behind starting that label up?
I started in '99. There were all these rumors at the time because Charles Bronson releases had all gone out of print really quickly, and some German label was asking us to release it, and I didn't even know them, and I didn't see a point of why our record should come out in Germany. So I just said no, and I wouldn't stop asking. And I'd heard from another fellow friend that, this guy's a notorious bootlegger, and I'm sure he's going to bootleg you if you don't do something. He's going to make money off it. And at the time, people were already selling shirts of ours. And this is all very new to me. I had no idea that there would be any sort of reaction to this. None of us expected this whatsoever. I mean, it was a complete shock to just even think that we were a sought-after band, or a band people thought were important. It didn't register, So finally I realized, I guess we should release the CD. That's how the label came about. So that was the foundation of it. And I think from that point on, for 10 years I've been putting out records. The newest one is going to be Cold Ritual, who I think is an amazing band from Florida that I think really sets a new standard in this style that we're part of. I think it's important that it is delineated as a scene. I think everyone is pretty critical of themes and trends, and I'd like to know when things are trendy. Like, I'd like for these people to tell me, because I've been accused of that a lot, of being like a trends label or a hipster label. But yeah, we are that, because everything else is too. I think that for a number of years we've gotten this sort of stigma of being sort of outsider, obnoxious label, which I just always have gone my own way. And that we work with to reflect that attitude. It's all very purposeful.
Now, you mentioned, not making money off the music. What's your opinion on all the blog spots and all the torrents where all this obscure music is available? On one hand, the bands and the labels aren't making money off it. But on the other hand, do you see any kind of benefit to having this music available to people who wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to hear it if not available online?
I think it creates a dual problem. Because, on one hand, it's great that it's out in the world and people can, appreciate it. But, on another level, it erases the value. Once you lose that tangible, tactile thing that you can hold in your hands, it just becomes like a non-entity. And that seems, for me, to sort of dull the impact of the art that it is. It's removing the essence of it. It's like, all the bands that we work with, it's very important to them that there can be properly visually, and the moment we start selling a record, it goes up for download on some blog spot. I think, they don't look at it as problematic, or they feel like they're doing it out of their own, like, self-gratification to think that, these blog people are on the pulse of, like, what's happening. And it's very bizarre because it's like they want to be acknowledged as cool, and yet they're anonymous. They don't really show you who they are. It's a weird world that we're part of now, and it's like, it's very easy to sit and criticize it, yet that's the way that it is. It's something that you just have to accept. So being a label at this time in history is completely unforeseen, because you can't sell records like you could a couple of years ago before people started doing this stuff. I don't know how labels exist. I think that we only exist by sheer will, not by money. If there's any to be made, it's only spent, putting back into the label. I don't even know how I get by every month. I really don't. I think it's just because that's the only way it can be. It can't be any other way. I can't surrender. I can't surrender to the idea of what people find entertaining and what people find acceptable and how they devote their waking hours. It just seems completely obscure and mystifying to me. The way people are, my parents, they can devote every evening sitting on the couch or sitting in separate rooms, not talking to one another, I guess because they're so used to each other, but this is their lives. They work, they come home, they watch TV. It's been said a million times, yet it's just not me. I don't get it.
Now, in closing, what's next for Mr. McCOY on a musical level and on an artistic project level?
I've got a book of photographs coming out, working on the next huge drawing series. There's several more projects in the ringer. I've gone back and forth with putting my name on things. There's something really exciting about there being a unspoken sort of mystery behind the things that are put out into the world, because usually they're released with the idea of making that person known, or making that person money, or making them famous, which I don't think they don't deserve. Yet there's something special about simply for the art's sake, simply for the thing that you're putting out into the world. There's no ego involved. There's no personality. There's no person behind what it is, other than the thing itself. And so I've been playing in some bands that have been coming out, and there's more coming out that I don't think I'm going to say that I'm not going to announce it.
Just kind of see and wait what happens and let the world find out.
I think you have to, Like you could sit and debate and expect what the reactions are going to be. You don't really ever know. You just have to go with your gut, I guess. That's the way I've always done it.
Good deal, Mark. I appreciate your time, man, and it was a very poetic delivery as far as a radio interview goes. You got any plans on exhibiting any artwork in Chicago for the future?
Not at the moment. These things take forever to come together, but hopefully.
Okay, good deal, man. Once again, I appreciate your time.
Thanks.